Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. We're holding in Zevachim Daf Kuf Tezvav. We're starting Daf Kudal Damud base 7 lines from the bottom in the last word of the line. Om Marav Chilkio Dever Tuvo Loishonu Elo Lishmoi Aval Shaloi Lishmoi Chayov Hoyil Veroi Shaloi Shmo Biftim. What are we talking about? Talking about an Osham. The Osham that we said that if you do it too early, so comes the Mitzayro, the Yoledis, right? They do actually the Osham was only by Mitzayro. He brings it before the 8th day. So if he does it outside, he's potter. Why? I can't do it inside. I can't bring the korban inside because it's not yet the right time to bring it. The only time you can bring korban Osham by Mitzayro is when he is the 8th day. But if it's before the 8th day, he can't bring it. So if you do it outside, you're not chayav. The only time you're chayav outside is if you could bring it inside. So if you did Osham too early, you're not chayav. Says of Chilkio, that's all if you did it Lishmoi. Lishmoi inside is not miskam. But if you did Shaloi Lishmoi, what happens to korban that was done Shaloi Lishmoi? Goes back to the base of Aleph. All korbanos that were done Shaloi Lishmoi, they're kosher. Ella the one has to bring something else, but it's kosher. So if what? No, now it's much better than Malim Lamrim. Malim Lamrim, it's possible, but you put it in his bag, you have to take it down. Here, the korban is 100% kosher. I can put it in his bag like Tchila. It's much better than Malim Lamrim. But it's kosher. The owner has to bring another korban, but it's a kosher be'ema. So if I take korban Osham, and I do it in Beis Hamikdash for something else, it's kosher l'korban. It's not going to work for the Osham, for the Mitzayro, but it's a kosher. So you mail it outside, you'll be chah. That's what Chilkio says. So again, Omav Chilkio, the Ver Tuvi, Leishonu El Lishmoi. So only if you did the Osham Lishmoi. Aval Shaloi Lishmoi, if you did Shaloi Lishmoi, Chayu. Why? Hoyil Veroi Shaloi Lishmoi B'Vim. Because inside you can do Shaloi Lishmoi. Says Yachi Lishmoi, Nami Nechayev, Veroi Shaloi Lishmoi B'Vim. Says okay, so also Lishmoi, you should be chayav. Because there is a scenario that you have inside. Inside you could do it Shaloi Lishmoi. So even though now I'm doing it Shaloi, but I could do it Shaloi Lishmoi. So it is, our rule is anything that I could do inside, I'm chayav outside. So here I should be able to do it inside. Says the Gemara, by Akira. No, you need to switch it. The Akira is taking it and saying, I'm not an Osham anymore, I'm an oiler. Until you didn't come and say I'm doing it something else, it still has the name of Osham. So I can't come and change what it is until I change it. So you're saying like this, I should be chayav outside. Why should I be chayav outside? Because inside it's kosher shaloi shvoi. Right? But in order to become shaloi shvoi, you have to make it shaloi shvoi. You have to change the name of the korban. As long as you didn't do it in Mechus Maaseh, it's too far. Far. Meaning, when do you chayav outside? When this thing, as is, can be miskabel inside. But if I have to change it, it's a Mechus Maaseh. I'm still missing something. Too far. Says the Gemara, Subayakir. He says, you want to tell me that there's something something that you cannot do lishmoi, but you can do shaloi lishmoi. Meaning, as Rashi points out right away, back to the base of Mudalef. Come on, to the end, we close jumping to the base. In the base, we learn that anything that you did shaloi lishmoi is kosher. Says, yeah, that's because you could bring in lishmoi. I could do it lishmoi. But what happens if I went and I switched it and did shaloi lishmoi? Still kosher. But if I can't bring in lishmoi, because it's not yet the time to bring in lishmoi, Osham can bring in lishmoi, so then who said it can bring in shaloi lishmoi? That's what who's coming to argue. Look at last Rashi in the moment. Kosher is with a field or field apple be the kaiman on the even though that base of that we learned. Kol Zevachim ksherim shaloi lishmoi. That's only when they're kosher to do the right thing. Something which is not kosher lishmoi can't be kosher lishmoi. That's what he says. Says more Veloy. There's no such thing. Ve'arei, what about the Kuftis Volum Dalef? Pesach B'Shar Yemois Hashanah. What happens if I take Korban Pesach today? Today is Yud Zayin Tevis or L'Chai Tevis. Tonight. I bring Korban Pesach today. What happens to Korban Pesach? We learned it a few times throughout the Masechta. What happens if I bring Korban Pesach today? What is it? Pasul or kosher?
You could wait and you could bring it later on.
What happens if I bring Korban Pesach today? What happens to the Korban? It's a Shlovim. So if I bring Korban Pesach today, it's a Shlovim. Can I bring it for Pesach? No. So you see, if I do it, I'm doing it for something else. It's something I can't do for its main purpose. I could do it for something else. So what's the problem to say by else the same thing? Says the Gemara. So again, Pesach v'shar v'zashana ain't a kosher l'shmoi v'kosher l'shmoi. Says the Gemara, Pesach v'shar v'zashana shlomim. Pesach the rest of the year is shlomim, and this is the yisoid that's brought down in the beginning of the Masechta. Reb Chaim Soloveitchik says this yisoid speaks about it. It's not that Pesach changes to be shlomim. Pesach is alein shlomim. I think that's how you say it in brisk. Pesach is alein shlomim. Pesach is a shlomim. It's not the Pesach. You will, once you did Shlosh Shmoy during the year, it will transform from being a Pesach to Shlomim. Pesach is itself Shlomim as is. During the year it's a Shlomim. Pesach will be it's Pesach. It's not going to transform. So it's not supposed to finish Gemara Bas. It's not Chusavaisa. Chusavaisa means you have to change it. You have to transform it. Not to transform it, it's already a Shlomim. What?
And here
it's also you have to do Ashma Ta'ila, you have to transform it. So the Chusavaisa. Not only that, you can't do it. Because it can't transform it, it can't be its own thing.
if you said specifically that it should be for a Korban Pesach.
No, if we lose Shmoi, then it's possible. Only if we did it Stama or Shalosh Shmoi. Right. Says the Gemara, name of Sayala, bring your right. Then what? We'll bring a right to Rav Chilkiel. Meaning, we just brought a Machlekes. If I brought Asham, Shalosh Shmoi, is it a good korban? So I chayav outside or not? Chilkiel says yes. Comes Rav Huna says no. If I can't bring a lishmoi, I can't do shalosh. So bring a right now to Rav Chilkiel. So the Gemara Yochol Shani Mutzi Af Oilos Mechusas Man Beilim. Can it be I bring an oilo which is Mechusas Man Beilim? Meaning I have to be it on the 8th day, and he brings it earlier. V'Osham Nazir V'Osham Mitzayra. Maybe I'm going to be an Osham of Nazir Mitzayra. I don't bring it by I brought it too early. Talmud Loimar Shor Mikol Makom. The pasuk says shor keves, so it says any shor, any keves. Eis mikol or eis. Filu chatos sharia. We didn't mention chatos. We just mentioned asham. So what's bothering the Gemara? What's bothering the Gemara is we're saying in this brisa, saying if I bring oila early, we already learned that in the Mishnah, in our Mishnah, our Masechta, right here. If you bring oila early, it's okay because oila can transform. If it's not for the mitzayra or nazir, it is for the double. No problem. Oil is okay. Okay. What about asham? So says the Brisa, asham you also can bring early. We have to understand why. It didn't come yet at the time. So before the Gemara comes to prove it from the following thing. Why? What about chatas? Why do you say I can bring Asham early and Chatas I can't bring early? Explains the Gemara, B'ma'askin. Even Bizmanoi, talking about it's already the 8th day. My year Yashua, feel Chatas Dami. I mean, if it's already time to bring it, he did it outside, so he's Chayav. He's bringing a korban, you could bring it inside, bring it outside. Ela Shalem Bizman. Ela we're talking before the 8th day. V'mai. Ilem Lishmoi, doing Lishmoi. Asham by Chayav. Why Chayav by Asham? Asham, that he did lishmoi inside, it's not a good korban because it's not the 8th day yet. So he did it outside, shall be chayav. Elala shaloi lishmoi. Huh? Kevalik. It's shaloi lishmoi, and therefore you may chatos shaloi lishmoi. It's possible. We have it in the chatos is specific. If you do chatos shel ishmor, that's the first mishnah again in the Masechta, because possible. So therefore, you're not chayav outside. But ashur shel ishmor is kosher. So if I do it outside, you're chayav. Right of chilkiyo. Anything that's not kosher right now, lishmor inside. But if you did shaloi lishmor, that is kosher inside, and you merely chayav outside. Says the Gemara. So that's a right. So we're talking about bizmanoi. It is bizmanoi. If it's bizmanoi, so why in that case you're saying that Oshom Yuchayev and Chat is not? Answer is Shaloi Lishvoy. It's bizmanoi in a day, but Shaloi Lishvoy. So now the Gemara answers the question. Really, the Oshom is, we're talking about, we said over there, that Oshom, that was done Shaloi Lishmoy, Rashi brings here a few different Gersos over here. We're going to stick to the Gerson more for now. So if you do it Shaloi Lishmoy Bifrim, it becomes possible. Why? If you do Shaloi Lishmoy Bifrim, Chatos, if you do Shaloi Lishmoy, becomes possible. Osham, it's a machlekes. Rabbi Lazar holds that Osham, they do Shaloi Lishmoy, because possible. So even though inside is possible, it's a special Yechezkel Katsuv that outside you chayav. That's what the Gemara says over here. Hi, so why Osham yes, Chatas not? So the Gemara no, Chatas as well. Let's see the Gemara. Da'ilam is ba'anai v'shal Lishmoy. Rabbi Lazar da'amah mekshiri Osham v'Chatas. Osham v'Chatas are equal, but they both Shaloi Lishmoy possible inside. I mentioned Osham that learns from Chatos. And you I know Chatos as well, which is the main source, because Osham was learned from Chatos, so it was possible. Right. Rashi goes on. The Makish Osham Chatos, the Mixum Shal Yishmoi Bifrim B'Hashamis. Tafilu Achi B'Chayv Lo B'Chutz. Avga Doka B'Yeshiva Osham Akati Have Mayla Bifrim Have a Kosher L'Mishchet Estomo. The Kosher L'Shem Osham. For L'Shem Chayva. Should Dibur Lo Me'aka Shvei Minei. The Kol Kavod Lo Shachtale B'Korakai. Stomo L'Shvoi. So Rashi goes the whole cheshbon. The really, if it doesn't show Lishmoy, it is kosher b'fim Lishmoy. So he says, so what are you saying? You're saying when you did the Osho Shalo Lishmoy outside, because inside is kosher Lishmoy and it's not nekar, I say Yechezkel, it's more than that. Is inside you could do Lishmoy. If I do it Shaloi Lishmoy, it's not nekar yet, and because it's not Stom Lishmoy. What is going to say last moment? The only time I say that it's not enough if it's too far, we said. He has to do a kiro. Here the opposite, it's too close. This thing is an Osho. He wants to do Shaloi Lishmoy, but still it's an Osho. Until you're not Oiker, it's still Osho. And Osho inside is kosher. So if he does it outside, he's chayav. Even though he did Shaloi Lishmoy. Okay, so he says the Gemara, that's what he's saying. Chatos and Osho will be the same thing over here, and that's the Chiddush. Tosh will bring another right. Yeah, meaning because if you do inside Lishmo as kosher, so when you're doing outside Shaloi Lishmoy, you're still chayav on it because it's still you didn't oiker until you didn't finish it. You're not oiker the shape. So this is still a chat, it's still Osh. Tosh, another right. Yechol Shadi Marbe, there's another rice. Bring another rice to Reb Chilkiel. Yechol Shadi Marbe, Oilo, Mechusor, Zman, Begufo. Could it be I bring Oilo, Mechusor, Begufo? Because by Oilo, like we said, what is it Mechusor, Zman, Begufo? Bechusor, Zman, Bailing, we don't have. What's a Bailing? They didn't get to the 8th day. But Oilo, you don't have a problem not doing 8th day because it's you can bring it as a donation. So Oilo, there's no we're not talking about Mechusar Bazar and Bailing. But
doesn't every animal need like 8 days?
Oh, so Mechusar Bazar Begufay. The korban is not ready. Now the owner is not ready. How talking about?
Why isn't the owner? Why isn't Mechusar Bazar by the owner by
Owner means that the owner's not ready because he's not Torah yet.
He doesn't. I mean, no one has. There's no case of anybody that's bringing oil.
There is, but if he does it earlier, you say it's kosher b'fnim l'shem donation. So oila, that's the case of our Mishnah. Oila and shlabim, there's no such thing as the owner's not ready. Because even the owner's not ready, so he can't bring in l'shem nazir, can't bring in l'shem mitzayva, but he could bring in l'shem something else. So it's ready. But the behemoth itself is not ready if it's not 8 days old. The behemoth, in order for behemoth to be kosher, it needs to be at least 8 days old. So what happens if the oil is not doesn't get its time? Okay, will we add that? Or the chatos, if the animal is not ready, or the owner is not ready, right? That's the drush right before. It has to be right to go to El Moed. We didn't mention Osho. We just mentioned chatos. You're asking what we're talking about. If you're doing lishmoi, so if it's not yet, the bailim is not ready to bring it. So then, okay, so so Hashem also should be okay. Elalav shaloi lishmoi. Elalav we're talking about that's not lishmoi. And what are we saying? That by Osho, I didn't say there's a problem to bring it early. So you see a right of Chilkio that Osho that I did Shalom Lishmoi outside your Chayov. So Shalom Lishmoi. It is Shalom Lishmoi. For Ablozi the Makish Osho Lechatos. We're talking about that it is Lo Lishmoi, and it's a blazer that he is Makish Osho Lechatos, meaning he is comparing Asham to Achatos, and his Asham Achatos are the same. And Mimele, if he did Shalom Lishmoi, it's possible. And Mimele Tanei, he could be Koshka Latofel. I mentioned Chatos. What about Asham? Asham is the same, because they're both the same. This answer, by the way, you can say only according to Ablozer. According to Ablozer, the Asham and Chatos are the same. So I mentioned one, not the other. In the previous brayso, we spoke about Chat Asham, we said Tofel with an Ikar. Now I talk about Chatos, not Asham. But no right for Ritev Chilkio, because we're not talking about doing it in a way that's kosher shalish. We're talking about all that's not kosher shalish. Toshma, another rayom. Dechioso of Dimi Omar, Omer Devir Livoi, Yechol, Shani Moitzi, Af Oilos, Mechusas Man, Bebailim. Another bryce. Could I take away oilo if the owner is not ready? Could it be a problem? No, it's not. I mean, could it be disqualified? It's not disqualified because it can bring it as a donation. Osham Nazir v'Osham Mitzoyro Minayin. How do you know Yechayat? The bryce, the way that in the parentheses is, he says, V'nosu Talmudu l'chiyuv. The Gemara is going to give us a chiyuv. V'lo yadan emayi. We don't know what it is. My Talmud. What have you learned over here? By Osham. The source is what we said before. Shor, Kesef, and Ez, any one of them. So, what do we see over here? That Osham can come. What we understand? What we talking about Osham? So, hi, my rumyo, Kedigomite. In other words, we're saying exactly the same question we had before. We mentioned Osham. We didn't mention Chatos. What's the pshat? Enema Osham can be Shalom Shmoy. See Shalom Shmoy works. So the Gemara is asking, yeah, but that's exactly the question you asked before. And what do we answer? We're going to go to Ablozer. And we're saying that Osham and Chatos are equal. And get to the same discussion we had before. We can say now, like, well, what are you bringing? A very similar price. So the Gemara, I have a stiro over here between the Bryce of Levi and the Bryce of Levi. What is the stiro? Right? It says like this. It says by Osham, if he did it Shaloi Lishma, it is kosher. If he did it when the owner is not ready, when it's too old, the animal's too old, psulim. So you see over here clearly that this Tani, the Tani of Levi says clearly the Shaloi Lishma is kosher. And we said before the Shaloi Lishma, according to what you wanted to say, it's possible. So you can't say it's Bizman Shaloi Lishma, which is possible. Mushani of Dimi, Lekasho, Kan Lishma. So it was it. So we have a stira. So when I can answer it, Mushani of Dimi, Lekashi, Kan Lishma, Kan Shaloi Lishma. He said, no, the brisa that we said that Osha was puzzle, we're talking about we did Lishmai. And the brisa that says Osha was kosher, we did it Shaloi Lishmai. So clearly a right to have Chilkiah. Meaning, if I bring the brisa alone, I can say what I said before. We're in Katar Blaza, we're talking about Nam Mechusazman. But we have a problem, we have a stigma between the brises. One brisa, and I believe that Levi and Levoy, they go together. So the two brises are in the same place. And then one says Asham is no good, and one says Asham is good. What do you have to say? Lishmoy, Shaloi, Lishmoy. So you see clearly Shaloi, Lishmoy works, but Lishmoy does not work. That is what Rav Chilkiah said. Okay, so that's a good raya to Rav Chilkiah. Rashi Raya Mastisa Braiso Mishani Kan Lishmoy Kan Shaloi Lishmoy. So Rav Ashi also brought a stira. He didn't bring the steer between the brises like we just said, but he brought a steer from the Mishnah, because the Mishnah says l'shmoy potter, and the brisa it says the chayav. So the brisa is the same answer. Instead of bringing for the brisa, it's for the brisa against our Mishnah. So again, you have a raya that shaloi l'shmoy is good when l'shmoy is not good. Rav Chilkiah. Lemi diav tiyuv to the Avuno. So it's a steer to Avuno. Ravuno argued Rav Chilkiah. Ravuno is the one who said that shaloi l'shmoy is not good. Because if you can't bring it l'shmoy, you can't bring it shaloi l'shmoy. So we just bias basically from this brisa against him.
Which one is it asking? That's bringing
the first brisa. The first brisa over here in the white lines. So it says that Osho Mechutz Zman is kosher. And we just proved that has to be shaloi l'shmoy. So I'll tell you what it is. We're not talking about that you have a regular Asham. A regular Asham, you can't bring Shaloi Lishmoy. Can't. That's what everyone holds. If I can't bring Lishmoy, I can't bring Shaloi Lishmoy. So what are we talking about? Talking about you have two Ashamas. One brought two Ashamas. He has two. One is, he brings one, the other one is insurance. One of them is going to be Oila. Because when you bring two, so one of them is Asham, one of them is Oila. Is already an Oila. You just have to find out which one is going to be. So if you checked it too early, I say that one is the oil. That's what it says. Just to begin with, is oil. Says the Gemara Daf Kuf Tezol base. When I have an asham, that we said that we have to wait for it to graze and get a mum, to get a blemish, and he shecht it without waiting for it to get a blemish. Kosher oil, which means what? Asham that I cannot use is ingrained into this oil. I don't have to wait for, even though we learned in the Mishayas, you have to wait for it to get a blemish, then you sell it, and then with the money buy oil. But what Rav is saying is that if you didn't do that and you make it oil itself, it becomes a oil. So you see that Asham is a oil. Similar to what we said the Pesach is Shlamim. So Asham is oil. It says more like this. In that case, if you did it too early, it's going to be kosher oil. But Stam Asham Shalish was not. So one thing to get from the sugya that we learned, now we're going to a little easier Gemara, but we take it from the sugya is Rav Chilkiah holds that if you did Asham or Shaloi Lishmoy before the 8th day, Rav Chilkiah holds it's going to be a kosher dik. It's kosher inside, Shaloi Lishmoy, merely chayav outside. Because of what it says, no, if I can't do Lishmoy, I can't do Shaloi Lishmoy. And we tried to bring 3 different rayas to Rav Chilkiah, we ended up with one strong one. And the Gemara said, what are we going to say? It's a totally different case. I have 2 Hashams. Okay, Zok Gemara. Hamal and Misachatos, the Mishnah says, if you take things that are not supposed to go in the Mizbeach, like the meat of the Chatos, the one's going to bring us again the list. If you do it outside, you're potter, because that's supposed to go in the Mizbeach. The meat of the Chatos, the meat of the Osh. The meat of any Koch except oil. And the leftover of the oil after you do kmitza. Fish alech and the two breads that come in Shavuos, they don't go on the Mizbech. What goes on the Mizbech? Only the kavasim. Felechem aponi, that doesn't go on Mizbech. What goes on the Mizbech? The levoina. Shtea minacha, v'shira minacha is the leftover of the mincha. They don't go on the Mizbech, only the kmitza goes. Shepato, I know it's pato. Tomad leima oilo. Ma oilo shiruyo lahalo, afkol shiruyo lahalo. Oilo needs to be roy to go on, to be oil on his back. So also everything has to be oil on his back. If it's not oil on his back, you're not chayav outside. Minayin shava yoytze. Yoytze means pouring oil. Ve'aboilo, mixing. Ve'apoises, taking the mincha and cutting into pieces. Ve'amulech, salting. Ve'ameni, bringing it, lifting it. Ve'amegish, touching his back with it. Ve'amesader hashulchon, putting the breads on the table. Ve'ametiv is preparing the candles. Ve'akoimitz, taking out the kvitza. Hamikabel, receiving. B'chutz shupat. Right? All this is part is not a void that you have in b'chutz. Tomlema sheyale oilo or zevach. Ma'alo shigba avoid. Of course, shigba avoid needs to be something which is the end, not something which is in the process. All these avoiders that you're talking about is the middle of the process. Okay, so Gemara said, "At sheloyuka mishka." We spoke about the fact
that's only one of those these last avoiders we're talking about, starting from Yechezkel.
Yes. So watch Atzolka Mishkan, the Mishnah says that the B'chayrim were doing the avodah until the Mishkan was built. Says the Gemara, Yossi Ravuna Bar of Tino Kaved of Chizo. You read the pasuk. The pasuk that says Matan Torah. Vayishlach is Nare Bnei Yisrael, and it says over there, Vayalu Oilos Ve'izbechu Zevachim Shlomim L'Hashem Par. So it says the Nare Bnei Yisrael did the korbanos. Omalachi Omavasi Korvu Upasku. That's one gears. Rashi brings here two explanations. Either pshat is that they did it there, meaning that was the last day that the B'chayros did Avodah. It was that was the only day that the B'chayrim did Avodah. The other pshat is what Rashi brings, is Loshen Pasuk, you have to say a psekadu at the not like we have in our, like we read the Torah. Meaning you have to stop with Yisrael. Meaning you send the Bnei Yisrael, come. In addition, there was korbanos. They didn't do the korbanos. The way the pasuk reads today, when it's together, you're saying he sent the Bnei Yisrael to do korbanos. He said, no, you're reading it wrong. You have to do a comma. He sent the Na'ar Bnei Yisrael. They did korbanos. Who did? Somebody else. The Quran. So it was some of those suyim mastis. He was about to ask him a question from our Mishnah. What was the question from our Mishnah? The our Mishnah said that until the Mishkan was not built, the B'chayros were working. So that's a little later. Then he heard another sentence. He said in the name of Avad Ba'aval. That the oil that Am Yisrael did in the midbar, you're not required to do hefshev v'nituach, which means removing the skin and cutting into pieces. We'll see in a moment why not. Instead of bringing a question from our Mishnah, he brought a question from the Brisa that questions both assumptions that he said. A, that the B'chayr stopped at Har Sinai, and B, that you don't have to do hefshev v'nituach, skinning and cutting in the midbar. The Tani says the Brisa, actually, the bomois or mutter. Ve'avoida b'b'chayros, avoida b'b'chayros, clearly to the Mishkan. Ve'akol k'sheim la'akri, everybody can do a krava, be'emo, chayo, be'oif. You can do be'emo, chayo, be'oif. Even chayos can be on the Mizbech. Scharim in the cables, not only male, also female. To me, mubal woman, even if the blemish, tehoirim, has to be a be'emo tehoirim of lichmein. You can't be be'emo tehoirim. Can't be an animal which is not kosher. Ve'akol, korvu oilos, everything was an oil. When they did oil in the midbar, you do have to do skinning and cutting. And the Nachrim have the right to do the bama like Yisrael used to do till then. So what do you see? You see clearly that Koyanim were not appointed to the Mishkan. And they do have Shevituach in the Midbar. Says the Gemara, Tanoi, it's Ochik Tanoi. The Tanya, Vegam Koyani Manigo Shimon Hashem is Kadoshu. It says in the Pasuk that in Achona for Mount Har Sinai, the Kohanim have to get ready. Shubikach is a precious Bechoirus. That is, talk about the Bechor should get ready, meaning that he's calling the Bechoirus Kohanim. You see from here the what? The Bechor was a Kohen. Rabbi Yomer is a precious, not the Baviyu. It's not the Bechor, it's not the Baviyu. Not the Baviyu who are it's the Kohanim. The Baviyu are the Kohanim. Remember when there was the Mishkan and none of you died. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells Aaron, Hashem already says that they're going to die. B'krei v'hakodesh. Hashem said it. Where did he say it? So it says more now. He said it on Sinai. What did he say on Sinai? Okay, it says in our Sinai. It says, "Penifritz be'em Hashem." It says they should be very careful not to get close to the mountain because maybe Hashem will punish them. So he said that Hashem may punish if they do something wrong. So that applies to the view they came too close. Elam was the precious Bechayros, but if you talk about Bechayr, Hey Mizo, what does it say? If we talk about Bechayr, what does it say that Akash Baruch Hu said that the view are going to die? Says the Gemara Dichtiv and Ati Shalom Yisrael Nigdash Bechvoidi. Says B'legabe the Mishkan. So Hashem said, I'm going to be talking to Am Yisrael in there, and there'll be Kedusha with my covenant. Al Tikri B'chvoidi Ela B'mechubodai. The people that I respect are the important people of Am Yisrael. Topaz HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe V'lo Yodat Shabesu B'Yar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, you should know, people are going to die. There will be some Kiddush Hashem that happens through the people that are very respectful to me. And he didn't know who he was talking about. So which one did not know he's talking about? When once the children are dying, you know why your kids died? You know why your children died? To do Kiddush Hashem. He knew that his kids want or so close to Hashem. Shosak v'kibel schar. He got reward. He was quiet. So the fact that he was quiet, he did not complain. What does it mean? Even though he's causing people in your close proximity to die, you be silent. Sometimes you're silent and you get rewarded. Sometimes you have to talk and you get reward for that. So the Nori of Hashem calls for the Mikdash, meaning the ones that have the dying Kiddush Hashem. Punishes the tzaddikim, misyare, it gets feared, umisale, it becomes elevated, umishalo, and people give him hill. So, what's the answer to the Gemara? It's a machlokes if the Kohanim were already there in the Sinai or not. Like us. Some say the Kohanim are ready once it was Mount Har Sinai. The Kohanim became Kohanim. And the last time the Bechayr served was in that Maimid when they took the oilets. And some say no, it was only later when the Mishkan was built. Only then the Kohanim became Kohanim. Hi, says the Gemara, that was the whole discussion. Another of you, when they died, because Moshe Rabbeinu says, I knew they're going to die. So which one of you say they're already appointed in Sinai? There it says that if you get too close, there will be Eish Hashem. But if not, so where was it? It was the Apostle where Kishboku said, this goes back, this is one of the big discussions here in the Sugya, based Hashem, I want to work it for the Shom Achshav, I didn't do it yet, but that the Rashi brings in Chumash, when was the Kohanim chosen? In Chet Hegel. That's what the Levim, Shevet Levi was Nivchon. So, if so, here in our Gemara, there's the tzad that was in our Sinai, or the Mishkan, how does that fit? Simple understanding is it goes with the one in the Mishkan. Chet Ha'egel, the kapara Chet Ha'egel is in the Mishkan. That's what the Kohanim were chosen. Okay, so the more lakasha oilo. What about the oilo? Meaning, do you do the other part, the other steer that we had? Do you do efshes v'nituach in the midbar net? Says the Gemara, trade tanoi, tzvachos tanoi. Tanei b'shvaloim klolois ne'emru b'sinai. In the Sinai, Kosh will give the rules, the klolois, the general terms, without too many details. Uprotois bo'el moyed. Then when he got to oil moyed, to the Mishkan, then he started giving the details. Rabbi Kiva Omer, no. Klolois uprotois ne'emru b'sinai. Everything. The rules and the details were all said in Har Sinai. Finished the Oil Moed, and then it said a second time in Oil Moed. Finished Tal Shalu Be'arvus Moed, and the third time they said Arvus Moed. Why before they went to Eretz Yisrael? So what's the Nikudas HaMachlekes that we need for our sugya? How much details were said in Har Sinai? Was it said only the rules, or it says the details as well? HaMachlekes. Is it Klolos or Pratos? Bishwal says only Klolos. I didn't have details. I knew I have to do carbon, but we didn't know the details. You have to do efshef and nituach, have to remove the skin and cut it into pieces. That we didn't know. Kiva says, no, everything was said in Sinai, including all the details. They knew everything. So they knew to do efshef and nituach. So that's the machlekes. Was the efshef nituach in the midbar or not? Depends if they already had it for Sinai or not. Even according to Rabbi Shmuel, they knew it from the Mishkan, but that was probably part of the process. So he says, so at least the oil Rashi puts it out. The oil that did not have shirituach is the one in Sinai, because in Sinai they didn't have it. This goes back to Ora that my father Shleit always mentions. And this will end today. The Mishnah Berurah brings one of the reasons that we eat in Shavuos milchik is because when Am Yisrael came down from Har Sinai, so they had to go and have to be the kasha of the kitchen. The kasha of the kitchen takes time, so they meet the day in milchik. So my father asked, they come down for Har Sinai, they got the Torah. Did they know all the halachas of Basa V'chol and Taruvas? And Yechezkel? Did they know all that? Because according to Shmuel, that's what they were doing. They were busy by fixing, cleaning everything. Did they know all the details? If they did, so what is Moshe Rabbeinu teaching for 40 years? That was always the question they asked. So the Chura depends on this machlekes. Was the prophets given already in Sinai? Did they know all the details or not? Chur's machlekes tanoim over here, something to think about, and this will end today. Good night.